we go. Okay, so welcome again. Photo Facts close up in Amsterdam, and we have a special interview with Isabella Rozendaal. Hello, Isabella. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hi.
Well, good. Thank you. Thank you for having us here in Amsterdam. We are very interested in your work. I mean, the work that you create as a photographer is very impressive. A lot of animals, but could you tell us a little bit about your work, the projects that you start, your techniques that you're using?
Sure.
A lot.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
wanna know.
so I started as a photographer 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I started with a project about animals.
Yes.
I then moved on to humans, and I never really went away from the connection between humans and nature. So for years I worked also on a project about hunting culture. I photographed hunters in different parts of the world. And I recently returned to pets again and made a book about the pets of Amsterdam.
Okay.
And I photograph I try to photograph, I guess, things, either everyday situations in a non-everyday way or the other way around. I like to have contrasts in my work, so to have really beautiful things mixed with things that may be a bit scary or gruesome, or light subjects with dark mixed together, and to, I guess, always seems weird to say that about yourself, but to have a sense of humor in there as well. Which I guess is more up to the viewer than it is to me.
It is. Yeah, always. Yes.
But people say that about my work.
Okay. I saw a documentary about you also hunting. I mean,
Yes.
I know that you have a very good relationship with hunting and the idea behind hunting, but you're also shooting yourself.
I'm shooting pictures.
Okay.
I took the Hunter's Educational course
Yes.
but it was purely as a way to get deeper into the subject matter and to understand it better.
Yes.
Because it's just been one long quest of trying to understand what's going on. So I started just in the Netherlands, went to Germany, and then went to the United States, where the culture is totally different.
Yeah.
And again, there I was trying to understand what makes it so different and why is it so different. So I actually, just for this project, or maybe also for myself in general, I added another study to my workload, I guess. I went to study English language and culture, and I wrote a thesis about how the romanticized image of hunting came about. So that's kind of my background research into these differences between American and European culture.
Yeah.
And the whole project at that point took a turn from not just being a photo documentary, because the subject matter is so complex that I feel you can't really tell it with photos alone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be a combination of both a written book and a photo book.
Okay, and when is it going to be finished? What's the planning?
Well, photography-wise, it's already been finished. In 2015, I took my last big trip to the Amazon, where I stayed with a native tribe and photographed their hunting way of life, and that sort of rounded it off for me in terms of different cultures. And it's really hard for me to capture this project into just a few sentences, because a huge part of it is also the research of, like, what's our place in the food chain.
Yeah.
And so that was a big part of it. But in any case, all these different facets are coming together. And next year, at the end of 2018, there's going to be a museum exhibition and a photo book coming out.
So we have a very good new scoop.
I guess you do. Yeah.
Oh, we have a scoop there.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you tell us what museum, when is the exhibition taking place?
Yes, I actually already know the opening date.
Really?
Yes, it's going to be December 15, 2018 in the Photo Museum of The Hague.
Very nice, very
Yes.
nice.
And it's going to be accompanied with 2 book launches.
Okay,
Yes.
2 books, not 1 but 2.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, come to The Hague in December 2018 then. You have this special relationship with animals.
I guess I do. Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, after one
Yeah.
project, okay, but after several projects, why is that? Did you have a pet yourself when you were a child?
I did not.
did
No,
not?
let me think. We had some pets, but we weren't a pet enthusiastic household. My parents are not into pets.
But you wanted a pet.
I wanted a pet so badly, and I got a cat eventually.
Okay.
But everybody asks me, do you want a pet or do you have a pet? And they're always very surprised when I say no. So I just say, oh, it's because my boyfriend's allergic. But actually, that's not the reason why. The reason why is because I see that having a pet is just the biggest possible responsibility next to maybe having children. It's for 10, 20 years, you are 100% responsible for this being's life, and not just when you feel like it, but every day. And that's not a responsibility that I take lightly just because I think they're cute. So no, I don't have any pets myself.
Okay. And but how do you explain the special relationship to the pets, to the animals?
I think what makes people relate to animals in such a unique way is that it sort of reminds them of that we're animals ourselves, and we live in a society where our animal side, and I'm not talking about sex, food, that kind of thing, but our animal side being our non-rational side and our physical side of of being in your body, of being in the moment. I think animals are a great way to remind us of that, and I think in modern society today it's something that people need very much. So that's why I think they're so in demand.
Okay.
Yeah.
You started studying photography at a point, but you not immediately went into documentary photography.
In my studies, no.
No.
When I started studying, I went to The Hague to the Royal Academy of Art, and at the time the program was divided into two directions. So it was either sort of commercial fashion or documentary. And for the first 3.5 years of my 4-year study, I was in the commercial fashion sort of side. And in the end, only in the last year I switched because of the graduation project that I was doing, which was documentary, and thankfully they let me switch. But I think that focus on advertising and fashion gave me a really big advantage in documentary work, because approaching your work, like approaching a cat as if it's a fashion picture, gives you visually something really to work with, and it gives it a new layer and depth. It's not just trying to tell the story, but it's also creating an image that stands alone, and it maybe is more evocative, it makes you think of other things, and it's not just about what's happening there in the moment.
No, I think so too, and it clearly shows in your work, I guess.
Yeah, I honestly think that the whole division, I don't think there's much sense to it. No. To say that you're either one or the other.
No.
So
No, it's a picture in the end. You also had a project en masse.
Yes.
And when I think about people on holiday, when I see the way you use your flash technique, you probably have heard this more often. Is there a relationship between the work that you make and Martin Parr?
Of course there is.
A British photographer.
Of course.
Could you explain that to us?
Yeah, he was absolutely one of my heroes when I was in school.
Yeah.
Completely. So I was very much influenced by him, but I was also influenced, of course, by the photographer that I interned with, Morad Bouchecourt.
Okay.
And he, again, was influenced by the photographer he interned with, Dana Lixenberg. So I think it's all trickling down from one school of style.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I see it in my own interns as well, that they start out, they learn the way that I use my light, and they sort of start to experiment with that as well. For a little while it looks like what I do, and then they find their own way. I also think the way I photograph today doesn't look quite as much as that style anymore, and that's how you evolve as a photographer.
Definitely, that will take place every time by every new project.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for this interview, we are looking forward to December 2018.
Me too.
To see the nice exhibition. Thank you very much, everybody, and hope to see you next time again. Bye.